Well, hello everyone and welcome to Miracles in Weight Loss. This is our online course and we're so happy to be with you today and help you to reach your goal of experiencing a lighter and trimmer and more toned body in all respects. And I like to combine the principles of A Course in Miracles along with many other healing modalities to really help this journey be one that's easier, calmer, and more peaceful in the mind. So let's go ahead and get started. And with our 7-week course, we will be using prayer, of course. We love to engage the higher wisdom and call upon that part of our one mind that already has the answers, the part that already knows what it is that's been holding you back or even putting the weight back on. I also add in A Course in Miracles principles because what I've found through the course is that it really helps us to unlock what's going on at the deepest part of the mind, which is where we are creating everything from. We also add in the source technique, and this is our proprietary method for getting to the root cause of a problem. And you'll find in traditional therapies that a lot of times, people talk about a problem or they try different ways to get to the problem, but they're mostly treating the effects of the problem. And what we really like to do is get right down to the root cause. If someone is trying to lose weight, you might be trying to do that with diet or exercise, and all of those are great things. But we really want to understand why the weight is there in the first place. So the root cause is the place that we identify, and then we explore what it is, and then we help you to release it and let it go. We also provide you with tapping tools. If you have heard of it before, it's called EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And we use the tapping to actually release the negative charge from the root causes that we came up with during the source technique. So you'll be provided very lengthy and detailed scripts that give you all the wording, everything that you need to be able to apply EFT on the root cause. We also use guided meditation and visualization, but you'll find that we will do this beginning in the second module, because in the first module, what we're doing is we are neutralizing any of those defenses or negative charges that might be in the way of a very peaceful weight loss experience. We also add in life coaching techniques. As we go along, I'll be sharing what those are. And finally, in our guided meditation exercises, we will be having a component of sound therapy, and sound therapy gives you a reinforced experience of healing because it's addressing things more at a tonal level. So you'll find that as you're listening, you'll actually get an added bonus of feeling stronger in the body, more clear in your thoughts, all of the things that sound therapy provides simply through the background music. If we look at weight loss in a traditional way, what the collective belief is in the world, you might hear that outer voice being the voice of people in the marketplace or doctors or all the people that are telling you why you have excess weight. We would see things like this, things like you're eating too much, that there's a lack of exercise, that you're not watching your portions through portion control, that perhaps your metabolism is not the right speed and it's slowing you down. Or it might even be the food quality of what you're eating. And then there's your appetite, your willpower and motivation. Maybe you're eating too late at night. Or perhaps there's a lack of nutrition. Or maybe your energy level is not where it could be or should be. Or maybe there's a factor of age or genetics that's slowing things down. And of course, we've all heard the story about hormones and how they interrupt the weight loss process. And throughout this list, and there's many more, we hear there's all these reasons about why we are overweight and why it's hard to lose the weight. And what we want to go after is the root cause. If you listen to your inner voice, You might have a very similar list. It will be things that you've heard or things that you've decided about yourself. You can even ask yourself this question, I have this weight because, and you might come up with your own list of reasons. Here's a few on this page. I don't eat right. I don't exercise enough. I don't take care of myself. I'm not motivated to take it off. I have a slow metabolism. I eat at the wrong times. It's my hormones. I'm older now. Well, I've always been this way. I don't have the willpower to lose it. Or every time I lose weight, I just gain it back. And without realizing it, you might find that these thoughts in your mind are reproducing themselves over and over again. When we have an experience, and that experience is uncomfortable for us, many times we have that experience over and over again without realizing that we are actually reprojecting that experience from our own mind. There is a collective belief, and the collective belief is that there's something that you are doing or not doing on the outside that is causing something to happen on the inside. But A Course in Miracles reminds us that all healing is of the mind, that the mind is the one that's really making the decision every day in every way about how this is going to go. You might know people that have actually, gone on a diet or even a fast. I knew someone once that went on a fast for 8 days and did not lose 1 pound. It sounds as though it would be physically impossible, that the person would have to lose weight. But if that person is in defense mode, if they're not in a place where they want to let the weight go because maybe it feels unsafe or insecure, then actually the mind will hold the weight on the body. And what we'll be exploring in this class is what we can do to identify what is holding the weight and then how to gently and easily release it. From A Course in Miracles, we learn that your thoughts and your beliefs are creating every one of your experiences. And the truth is that you are an infinite, eternal spirit, that you are one with God, that you are not a body. The illusion that you have accepted of yourself is that you are separate from God. The Course teaches us that at some point in time, we actually accepted the idea that we could be separate from God. And this idea has been so frightening and scary that it actually caused us to go into a place of fear. And we are still in that place of fear. We are still believing that we are separate. And your belief in separation is what is convincing you that you are a body. You are actually projecting the image of a body, not only for yourself, but for every other person, which is part of your one self. It is your thoughts that are projecting the experience of being a body. Your false belief, or your ego, as it's called, is projecting the separated body. It looks very real. It looks very solid and very convincing. And one of the only ways we can really relate to the idea of illusion is if you go to sleep tonight, you might dream that you're walking down the street or walking your dog. And yet when you wake up, you realize that you were not walking your dog. But while you were in the dream, you did not question that you were a body and you were walking your dog. You might say that right now you are experiencing that dream or that projection of yourself. And yet this is not your true self, that beyond the body, you will remember that you are infinite, eternal spirit and one with God. In the conclusion, you believe that you are a separated body, but you are not a body. The body is the effect of the ego or the false image of yourself. Your body is not the truth of who you are. But what's going on is that we believe that we are a body, and we're trying to protect the body, keep the body healthy, keep it strong, keep it from getting old, and keep it from dying. And in the process, we tend to add weight, because if we add weight, it almost gives us the impression that we are more powerful, that we are somehow stronger in the world, maybe less likely to be pushed around or pushed over, maybe less likely to be controlled by another person. But what we'd like to do in this class is to remember that you are not a body. You are going to experience having a body for the rest of your time here, and so we want to learn how to help that body to be comfortable and functional and easy to have around, but ultimately you will move on from it, and you are entitled to happiness now. The basic belief is that if you are doing something with your body, if you eat less or you exercise more, then you will lose weight. But we've already talked about how that isn't always the case. Sometimes you can just be exercising and you find that the weight is just not coming down. The body in this case is seen as the decision maker or the determining factor of your success or failure, and also the ruler of your mind. It's as if you are bound to however your body is. If you seem to have a lot of fat cells, or if you are genetically predisposed to gain weight, then you will feel as though your body is the decision maker and that you just have to deal with the results. When you address a problem at the level of the effect of the problem, it cannot be solved. The cause of the problem must be addressed for the healing to be total. When we are addressing weight loss simply through food and what we are doing or not doing, the problem is that our thoughts are not being healed in the process. And if you find that weight is something that you are using for protection or to keep a feeling of safety, then no matter how many diets you go on, you will find that you will put the weight back. And what we would like to do is help you to break that chain of misery, the chain of going back and forth, the yo-yo effect of losing weight, gaining it, losing it, gaining it. The reason it's coming back is because at some level you have decided in your subconscious mind that it is safer to have the weight than to not have it. And we are going to get very clear as we go together that you do not need your weight to be safe. We are actually going to reach up to a higher level of safety and peace. If you think about what is really causing the weight, your weight is a defense against the truth of who you are. That within you there is a blueprint. There is an inner knowledge of who you are. Every one of us has it, whether we remember it or whether we don't, that we are this infinite, eternal being, that this body is not the truth of who we are. And it is the function of your ego. Your ego is what I call the lower mind. It is the function of your ego to convince you that you are this body, that you are a fragment of the whole. Because if you were to remember who you are, you could no longer be in a body, because your separated self cannot continue to exist while you are in the knowledge of your one whole true self. And what ends up happening is your ego defends against this awakening. So while you're trying to lose weight, your ego, which is, you might think of it as that deep subconscious level of the mind, is constantly trying to keep the weight on, because it believes that if you lose weight, you would ultimately disappear. You would ultimately become less powerful. You would ultimately lose control or even cease to exist. Your weight is a form of armor to keep you safe. If we look at this list, you can see that this is just a few of those reasons. We armor up with weight because every day we are facing things like fear, worry, and stress. We have past traumas. Maybe it was an illness or an accident or the loss of a loved one, something that happened that really caused you to believe that you weren't okay. We have judgments from other people, Sometimes we feel persecuted. We have our own self-judgments about what we think we should be doing or ought to be doing or what we haven't been doing. Sometimes we are physically abused and we're dealing with that. Then there's verbal abuse, which over time can create a very deep belief and thought in the mind that you are not okay and that you are not enough. We have feelings of being vulnerable, powerless, frail, and weak, deep feelings of inadequacy. All of this has come from a steady diet of believing that we are separate from God. It makes us feel fearful, sad, alone, and many times miserable. All of this starts to result in a form of illness. For if we believe that we are a body, that we are limited and prone to death, now we actually invite the experience of illness. We might have made costly mistakes, and we might be holding guilt, believing that we should have extra weight, maybe as a form of punishment. We might feel that we have failed in life or have grievances towards other people. We might have anger and resentment about things that have happened to us. We might be feeling alienated or even abandoned. We might be in absolute pain, maybe with a shoulder, a knee, an elbow, or a hip, and there's nothing like pain to convince you that you are a body and that there's really nothing you can do about that. But today we are learning about miracles, and we are learning about how to turn to another place within our one mind that will help us to see this differently. We might be feeling exhausted or be in a place of despair. We might be holding fear about the future. Maybe you have a declining 401k plan. Maybe you don't have one at all. You might have global concerns when you watch the news or read the newspaper. There's all these things every day that are hitting us right in the face, and it's really a reason that we give to ourselves to armor up. So what is the cause of extra weight? The simple answer, it is from all the reasons why you think you have it or you think you need it. You may not think you need the extra weight, but imagine that you were walking into a very big storm. Wouldn't you grab the biggest, thickest blanket or jacket that you could get your hands on? It's kind of like that. We have grabbed onto that blanket, and now that we want to let it go, it has become our security blanket. And what we're going to do together is to remember all the reasons why we don't need that blanket anymore so that we can gently and easily lay it down. When will the weight go away? The simple answer is that the weight will go away when you no longer need protective armor for any reason. We call these our keys to weight loss success. There's really two prongs to this. And the first one is that we're going to help you identify all the hurts of the past. And maybe you've had one, and maybe you've had 100. There might be many, many times where you have felt like you have been not okay, or vulnerable, or inadequate, or scared, or wrong. These are times when we convince ourselves that we really are less than whole. We're going to help you identify hidden beliefs that you have formed when you have had these experiences. And every time you have a belief that you are inadequate, let's say, that there's actually a negative charge that comes from that because it really brings up a sense of fear. And we're going to help you identify those charges and then release them with our techniques. The second prong is that once those negative charges are neutralized, we're going to help you to restore the mind. You really do hold the blueprint for a complete, whole, and enlightened mind. And all of it is within you. And really what we're doing is helping you to undo what is not the truth about you so that you can get back to what is the truth. And we'll be using a variety of methods like prayer, our proprietary source technique, which helps you to get to the root cause. And then we'll be using the EFT or the tapping sequence to be able to release those negative charges. We'll be using guided imagery, hypnotherapy, life coaching, visualization, and even sound therapy. In this diagram, I've laid out some of the tapping points. The tapping points are what we use when we are releasing the negative charge on a particular experience. And if you look at this diagram, the ones that we will be using the most are the ones over here on the face of this particular blue man, and we call him Nordic. So Nordic here has all these points on his face, and we'll be using the one right at the top of the head. We'll be using the two right over the bridge of the nose. We'll be using the ones on the side of the eye here and also under the eye. And then we'll be using the ones under the nose and then on the chin. And we'll be using perhaps the collarbone point or over the heart. And as we go along, I'll be sharing these tapping points with you, and you'll find that they're very easy to use because you can simply use your own fingertips to tap on these points as we go along. You don't need to use needles or pressure as you might use in acupuncture or acupressure. Instead, we'll just be using our fingertips to tap on those points. The other points that we'll be using, you might be using the tapping points inside your knees, and you might be using the one in the center of the chest. And really these particular points are the ones that will do all the work for us. One last one that we use on the hand very frequently is called the karate chop point, and that's right there on the side of your hand, close to the base of your pinky finger. So as you're listening to this webinar, you can just join in with the tapping on these different points as we go along. Let's go ahead and begin our tapping exercise together. And if you were to begin tapping over your heart, I'd like you to just take a very nice, deep, cleansing breath so that you can relieve all the anger and frustration that might have built up for you over time. And we've tried to build into the language a lot of the different experiences that we've identified through our source technique in our work with private clients. So hopefully somewhere in the language you will be able to tune in or resonate to some of the words we're using. If we're not using the exact right words for you, feel free to make that translation in your mind, and you can just edit the words to make it specific to your situation as we go along. Let's begin now by tapping over the heart. If you were to place your hand over your chest, over to the area between your collarbone and the heart, there's a nice fleshy area out there. And I'd like you to just start tapping with your fingertips. And I will go ahead and say these words, and then you can repeat them after me. And I'll give you time so that you can do that. Let's begin and repeat these words. There have been times when I've been mistreated or neglected, and I might have decided I was unloved or that something was wrong with me. I am willing to release all the hurt, all the pain, and all the sadness I've been carrying. I've carried it long enough. Let's pause now and take in a long, deep, cleansing breath. And remember to go ahead and tune in to those times when you felt like you had to work for love, the times that you felt mistreated or neglected, when everything became hard and challenging. Now let's go to the other side of the chest. It's the same point, but directly across over to the other side of the chest, and begin tapping now. There have been times when I've had to work for love, to be appreciated or valued, and no matter what I did or how hard I tried, it wasn't enough. I did everything I knew to solve it, to fix it, or change it, but it wasn't enough. I released the frustration of every time it happened. I forgive myself for not being able to solve it. Again, let's take a long, deep, cleansing breath, allowing yourself to really tune in to what you're feeling and what's happening on the inside. These are things that we have tucked away, maybe for a lifetime. So don't be surprised if there's an emotional response. These are things that we try to push away, pushing into the vault, our emotional vault that we're holding in the center of the body. But today, with your willingness, we can bring these things right out of the vault so that we can let them go together. Now let's move on to the center of the chest. I really like this tapping point. It's down kind of just slightly above the breastbone in the center of the chest. And go ahead and repeat after me. I release all the anger, all the frustration, and all the sadness of every time I was mistreated or overwhelmed or cheated or betrayed, abused, or neglected. I deserve love. I deserve only love. It isn't fair to be mistreated. It isn't right for people to do this to me. I release all the pain and all the anger from every time it happened. Taking another long, deep breath, giving yourself permission to tune into it. We've all had experiences that threw us into a place of overwhelm or fear or shock or sadness or disappointment. And today we are bringing up those experiences that have been frustrating, and especially those ones that make us angry. Your anger is one of the quickest ways to block your weight loss, because without releasing the anger, you will be armored up against the world. You will armor yourself against more pain. And today, we will join together so that you can lay down that armor. And we're going to do that together. Let's go now to the top of the head, tapping around in a small circle. And repeat after me. I release all the roots and all the causes of all the pain. Every time I've been hurt, every time I've been persecuted, every time I was taken advantage of, I release it now. I deserve love. I deserve only love. Take another long, deep, cleansing breath. You are doing great. I know this isn't easy, but this is the way that we can free ourselves. We don't need to carry this. We have carried it long enough. We have allowed it to overtake our lives. And today we are saying no more. We are ready to let it go, and we are letting it go. Now let's go to the eyebrow point. This is on the inside of each eyebrow, located right over the bridge of the nose. You can actually put your index finger and your middle finger on the 2 points at the same time, just about an inch apart, over the bridge of your nose. Let's go ahead and you can repeat after me. There have been times when people I love rejected me, judged me, or abandoned me. And the pain might have been more than I could bear. I release all the roots and all the causes of all the sadness and all the pain. I've carried it long enough. I am done with the pain. Take in your deep, long, cleansing breath, releasing all those feelings of rejection, judgment, and maybe abandonment. There's nothing more painful than feeling abandoned, especially by someone you love or someone that you would love to have in your life. As we release these feelings and emotions together, this makes room for a much higher form of loving relationship. Now let's go to the side of the eye. This is on the bone socket, right on the side of your eye. It's not back on the temple. It's actually right there on the side of your eye. And you can tap on both sides of your eyes at the same time, or just one at a time. And repeat after me. There have been times when I felt unloved, unappreciated, unworthy, unimportant, or not valued, and maybe even invisible. I release all the anger, all the frustration, all the sadness and disappointment from every time it happened. I've carried these feelings long enough. Again, let's use a nice, long, deep breath to release and let go of all of those old, painful memories and feelings. You'll still have the memories, but where we want to get to is where you'll have the memory, but you no longer feel like you're in the middle of it. If you're looking at a painting, it might be a very dark-looking painting, and there's simply a difference from seeing a dark painting or feeling like you are in the dark painting. And today we are trying to reach that place where you can simply remember the incident, but no longer feel like you have to relive it over and over again. We're moving on now to the tapping point that is under your eye. Go ahead and start tapping and repeat after me. There have been times when other people have dumped on me. They made me feel small, inadequate, or responsible for their pain. I might have felt overwhelmed. I might have felt guilty. I might have felt powerless because I couldn't change it or make it better. I release all the frustration from every time it happened. I release the weight of this burden, and I turn it over for healing. Now let's go under the nose. I am ready to free myself from the pain of the past. And now let's take that long, deep, cleansing breath, releasing every time that you felt responsible for someone else's pain. We really need to release this. These are the reasons that we tend to armor up and carry excess weight. It's just been too much for too long. Now we're going down to the chin point. It's the area just between your bottom lip and the top of the chin. Go ahead and start tapping there and repeat after me. There have been times when other people have controlled me, manipulated me, or used me for their gain. It might have cost me something that I wanted or valued. I am willing to forgive them so I can free myself. I can't be angry and peaceful at the same time. I choose peace instead of anger. Very good. Go ahead and take that long, deep, cleansing breath. giving yourself permission to let go of every time when you have felt controlled, manipulated, or used by someone else for their gain. Take another deep, long, cleansing breath. And now let's go back over the heart and start tapping there. There have been times when I didn't get what I wanted. I might have blamed myself or someone else. I might have blamed God. I am learning that my grievances are blocking me from what I want. I release the blame, the anger, the hurt, and all the pain from every time it happened. I release my judgments, and I choose peace instead of this. I am ready to release this for good. Take in that long, deep breath, completely letting go of all of those old, painful experiences when you wanted something, you reached for something, you needed something, and you just couldn't get it, or you didn't have it, or it wouldn't happen. It is frustrating when this happens, but as we let go of all of those painful experiences, you're going to find that your mind restores to that natural blueprint, and the natural blueprint is that God's will is your happiness, and that whatever joyful idea you hold in your heart, it is heaven's gift to bring it to you. But it cannot come to us when we are holding anger, frustration, sadness, or disappointment. Those feelings are blocking our healed experience. Take another long, deep, cleansing breath. Let's go now to the other side of the chest, across from the heart, and repeat after me. If I've been sabotaging myself or holding myself back, I forgive myself. If I've been feeling powerless, inadequate, undesirable, or weak, I am determined to see myself differently. If I've been placing my happiness into the future where it does not exist, I am ready for happiness right now. Take another long, deep, healing breath. If there's anything going on at that deepest level of the mind where you believe that you might be sabotaging yourself, you might be holding fear thoughts or anxiety, you might be holding on to judgments against yourself, we want to release and let go of all of that chatter in the mind, going to a place of forgiveness. You have been doing the best that you know how. Give yourself that acknowledgement, and then just forgive yourself. If we hold ourselves as guilty or we judge ourselves, these are ways that we will block our healing. Let's now finish with the karate chop point, tapping on the side of your hand, right there at the base of the pinky finger, and say, I am ready to be first in line for happiness, with nothing to hold me back. I have no use or value for struggle, suffering, or pain. I am ready to reclaim the love, the power, and the greatness within me. Go ahead and take that long, deep, healing breath. Notice whatever is coming forward in your mind. There might be many more things, or your mind might be very clear and quiet. If there are more things coming up, be sure to go back to the replay and listen to this again and again. You can simply advance the scroll bar to the place where you'd like to drop right in and listen to the part that you need in order to clear that negative charge. Take another long, deep, cleansing breath. We're allowing that highest and wisest part of our mind, our God intelligence, to help us with this, to pinpoint and show us what is hurting us so that we can let it go together. The next part is something that I've actually sent to you, and it's called the morning and evening prayer. And if you can, it would be nice if you could actually lay it right next to your bed and read it first thing each morning, and then read it right before you go to sleep at night. You might even tap along with the prayer. But right now, I'd just like you to close your eyes, and I'll read it to you. Simply sit back and hear the words. Dear God, I desire to love myself and set myself free from every burden, and I need your help. I have allowed my body to become uncomfortable, and I forgive myself. I am learning that I am not my body. In truth, I am one with you, all-powerful, whole, infinite spirit. My body is not my identity. It is useful only for communication. I have no interest in burdening myself, judging myself, or punishing myself with extra weight. If I am carrying this extra weight out of fear or a habit or a need to defend or substantiate myself, please heal this part of my mind. Thank you for teaching me to find safety, happiness, abundance, power, and freedom in the lightness of spirit, which is my true self. I am determined to see myself and my body differently. I allow my body to be light, healthy, and comfortable so I can use it for my purposes. Whatever reasons I have for being overweight, I give them to you now and accept that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. Thank you for your certainty that my healing is accomplished and that I can have what I want with ease. Take a long, deep, cleansing breath. And now let's go on to the second part of that prayer. Hear these words. You're welcome to tap along if you wish, or you can just hear them for this first time. I am determined to do the following: to accept that I am one with you as infinite, eternal spirit, to recognize that I am not a body. I am free. I am as you created me. To remember that I am loved, whole, innocent, capable, powerful, and safe. To forgive myself for all mistakes and failures and free myself from guilt. To forgive those that have cost me, attacked me, denied me, or mistreated me. To accept that I cannot and have never been altered by anyone or anything. To understand there is no power outside of me. All power is within me. To walk in the certainty of your love, guidance, wisdom, and resources. To know myself as a holy, pure, light-filled blessing in the lives of others. To see myself and my body through the eyes of love and acceptance. To be kinder to myself in my daily habits and routines and decision-making. To be watchful and loving about what I'm feeding my body. To be mindful that fresher, lighter foods and portions lead to a lighter body. To stop using food as a reward or as a cheap substitute for happiness. To obtain a comfortable body weight without suffering, deprivation, or sacrifice. To honor myself by sharing what I'm feeling, wanting, or needing with others. To use EFT and prayer to heal my emotions instead of stuffing them with food. To ask and listen for your loving guidance about what to eat and when. To learn how to move and flow and dance through life and let my inner child play. To remember to love myself regardless of my weight or circumstances. To have what I want with ease and remember that with your love I cannot fail. To always remember that I am entitled to miracles, and with gratitude I accept this blessing. Amen. Go ahead and take a nice, deep, calming breath, understanding that when you go to a place of prayer, it is God Himself that is answering you. We are going to a place of acknowledging that we have help with this. Today, if you will open your mind and heart, we can receive the support, the guidance, the love, the wisdom, and the strength to help you with this and accomplish the healing. Take a moment and see yourself in a lighter, trimmer body. It is not your identity. But certainly if you're going to travel with this body, I think of it much like a suitcase. If you had to take a suitcase with you wherever you went for the rest of your life, I doubt that you would put bricks inside the suitcase. You would probably get the best suitcase you could find, the one that's easiest to carry around or pull around. We certainly love those wheels. Let's do the same with our body. Let's be very mindful about what we're putting into the body. See it as something that you take with you. It is for communication and nothing more. You are infinite, eternal spirit. You are the light. You are the love of God. You are the extension of God itself. Everywhere you are, everywhere you walk, is holy ground. Today, let us be clear that we are not our bodies. This will help us for the rest of our lives, because if you understand that you are not a body, then you are no longer prone to illness or even death. You are eternal life, and you are one with everyone here and one with God. as we are beginning to remember the truth of ourselves, A Course in Miracles teaches us that we will have what's called the happy dream. The happy dream is simply the experience of everything that you love showing up in front of you, around you, and in support of you. Because when the fear comes down, and the guilt goes away, and the judgment leaves your mind, what you are left with is love. And at that point, there is no interference between you and the Creator. There is no gap. There is no wall. There is no separation. Today we are glad to join together and to bring back that blueprint that we have and that we know is true. Take a moment and see yourself as whole and happy and blessed. Allow your mind to conceive of the healing that you desire. And dear God, we thank you today that we can bring you this happy, healed picture of our bodies, recognizing that it is not our identity. But thank you for helping us to experience our bodies in a way that is comfortable, peaceful, and even useful while we are here. Thank you for guiding us every time we eat or make a decision about food or meals, what to eat or when, that you would whisper into our ears and make suggestions so that we could choose those foods and beverages that would not only satisfy our hunger, but would take us directly towards our goal of being lighter and feeling better and more comfortable in our bodies. Today we are glad to remember that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. Thank you for that. We understand that for you to help us with this, it's no different than helping us to find a paperclip or a pencil. To you, it is all the same. And today we borrow your certainty that this does not need to be a struggle or a challenge or difficult in any way. We are glad to be shown very peacefully how this can be accomplished. We will be watchful and mindful and realize that when we're eating, we're simply putting fuel in the tank. It's as though we've been driving around in a car, and we've been in the car for so long, so many years, that we thought that we are the car. We are not the car. We are the driver of the car. So from this day forward, let's imagine taking care of the car simply as you would take care of your own car, that you would fuel it properly, that you would keep it finely tuned so that it is functional for as long as you have need of it. Whenever you fuel up the car, if it were your real car, you would simply choose gasoline. You wouldn't put in dirt or sugar or sand. You would choose the right fuel to keep that car going. Today we are going to remember that our body does very well with lighter, fresher foods. It helps us to feel very strong. It helps the energy to rise. It helps the body to get down the road a very long ways. Today let us be very mindful about what we choose, and we don't need to make those choices that punish ourselves or slow down our vehicle to where we almost feel as though we're pushing it around. We have a finely tuned engine in this body, and today we can begin to treat it simply as that, to make those choices that support a high-performance vehicle, and to simply let go or turn away from those things that would load up our trunk in a way that is not useful. Dear God, thank you for this time that we have had together and that we can use it for our freedom. Today you can remind yourself that you want to be free and that freedom is possible. Many times we're so used to carrying around the extra weight that we forget how heavy it actually is. If you wanted to lose 10 or 20 or 40 or 80 or 100 or 200 pounds, start to imagine what that feels like by holding a 10-pound bag of potatoes and then multiplying that for the number of pounds you'd like to lose. If you were to hold all of that on top of you right now, it would make you angry if it didn't get off immediately. Remember today that you are entitled to a lighter, happier experience, and that you are not required to armor up or to carry around weight that is actually punishing you on another level. Today we accept that we are worthy of love and happiness and a much greater experience than we have ever known. In A Course in Miracles, it teaches us that the memory of God, the awakening of our mind, is 1,000 times greater than your most joyful thought. Even if we experience a fraction of that, we welcome it with gratitude. I thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate you just going ahead and listening to this replay as many times as possible, going through those tapping scripts so that you can free yourself from any of those old experiences or memories that have brought pain to you. And if you find that you'd like to use our materials are copyrighted. We love for you to use them. But if you want to use them in a professional way or with a group, I'd like you to remember that we do offer Train the Trainer programs so that you can use our materials professionally and with authorized use. So we thank you for joining us today, and I'd like you to remember one thing. Remember to expect miracles. Let's raise our expectation. Let's be willing to imagine feeling so much better than we ever had without knowing how, without needing to know how, simply letting the healing be accomplished. Thank you for joining me.